there are a couple of areas where veterans may start off with misconceptions or not have a full understanding of what they're experiencing. One of those is that sometimes they don't understand that the experiences that they're having, maybe that things like trouble sleeping, problems with relationships, feeling on edge, they don't realize that that's actually a problem that's understandable, that has a name, that is an actual experience that they can get help for. Sometimes they just think, this is how I am, this is how things are, and I just have to deal with it.
Transitioning from military service into civilian life can be challenging for many veterans.
I was like, what is wrong with me? I'm not connecting. I'm not understanding what's happening, why I feel this way, why I'm struggling. Why is this so difficult? Why is going to work every day difficult? I'm not lazy. I want to work. I want to do these things, but emotionally, I just want to scream.
Had no idea why I couldn't sleep, had no idea why I'd get up, walk around, look outside, check my perimeter as I know now. Had no idea why I had the nightmares, had no idea why any of that was going on.
For clinicians, what's really important is to know about the veteran, their perspective. They come home, they've been on a mission. When you come back and you're a civilian life again, when you first look at the world, it's a very different world. And I think almost all the stories talked about that alienation, or at least that disconnect between the two worlds. And that we just can't go in there and assume we know what they've been through, or start immediately without hearing their story first.
Many veterans do come to treatment with feelings of loneliness, difficulty connecting with people in their lives when they've transitioned out of the military. Also, they're leaving, a brotherhood and a sisterhood. So they're losing, in a lot of cases, the connections that they had, in the service. So I think the first important thing to do is just to normalize that and to let them know that a lot of veterans, are experiencing the same sense of loneliness.
I started to isolate myself because the built-in military community wasn't there. I felt like I didn't have anything in common with a lot of students that I was in class with.
Things didn't come to surface when I was active because, you're too busy, too focused. Once I got off of active service and I went into the active reserves, that's when things, I kind of fell into depression, having a hard time readjusting.
Getting out was, it was such a paradox because I was dying to get out, and then when I got out, I was a little lost. I kind of didn't feel as though I fit in society as well as I did when I left.
I think one of the things is that, with the website and particularly sort of having all of those examples of veterans and family members talking about their experiences, I think sort of letting people know that they're not alone.
I felt bad for myself. I said, I got to be the only one doing this, so I'm going to feel bad for myself. And that brought on more and more and more, and it just got worse and worse steadily.
Many times people feel like they should be able to handle things on their own, particularly veterans who have been taught to solve problems, who have been taught to be strong, feel like they need to figure things out on their own, they need to resolve things on their own, and that seeking help is a sign of weakness.
Kind of had this feeling like they saw me as this like rock soldier, you came back, you were a 50 cal gunner. And it's just like, to be vulnerable to that and to acknowledge that, it changed how I felt about myself. And I just couldn't get to that point on my own. And so my husband was like, you have got to get some help.
Another barrier for seeking mental health care is that I think for a lot of people, starting to talk about problems is hard. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to get started. They think that it could be painful, it could be embarrassing. It's hard enough to start that conversation with somebody that you know and you trust, and even harder to think about starting that conversation with a mental health provider or another healthcare provider that you don't know.
I didn't know how to start up just a random conversation with someone I'd never met before, and so she would always ask me questions, and then she would be like, well, tell me what happened, and if you're not comfortable, you can leave some parts out, and we'll get there when we get there.
Well, it wasn't easy for me to go, okay? But, when you have a nightmare and hit your wife, or you go off the handle on her, okay, all the time. And you can't tell your kids that you love them. You got to get some help, okay? And I realized it, okay? And it wasn't easy, but I went.
Well, first, whenever I began therapy, it was one-on-one with just me and the therapist, which I was fine with that. We went monthly. And for a while there, he wanted me to start going into group therapy. And I was telling him, no, I don't want to start seeing group because then I have to express my feelings to everybody, and I'm not down with that. But he talked me into it one time, and then I went. And I seen a couple guys there that I knew. And it's like, okay, this is all right. You know, I know some people here. This can be fun.
You know, they get to a point where their symptoms are so bad, so they start isolating. They don't reach out. And we really want to get them back to a point where they feel like it's okay to reach out. They feel like there is hope. And sometimes something as simple as a website, like Make the Connection, is exactly what they need, exactly where they need to go. One video can really change someone's perspective, in my mind.